Hello, my name is Randy Williams, and welcome to Keiretsu Forum Presents. This is going to be a monthly series about Keiretsu Forum and the evolution of angel investing is what our topic is today. Each month we're going to have a rock star guest, and I'll be introducing my guest in a moment. But people ask me all the time what Keiretsu means. I'm the founder and a very proud member of Keiretsu. This is our 16th year, and we're taping here in Silicon Valley, so I tell a lot of people it's a famous sushi restaurant a block away on El Caminos. But Keiretsu is a term of synergy, and when my wife and I were able to retire 16, 17 years ago and get in angel investing, a lot of the banks were losing our money, and I really wanted to have smarter people, as I call swarm intelligence, or mindshare, help me be a better investor. So selfishly, I needed smarter people to help me. I've made now 51 investments at Keiretsu in the last 16 years. And quite frankly, if I hadn't had Keiretsu Forum in my life, I would get ahead of my skis quite a bit as an investor. And fortunately, I'm over a 30% IRR because I have smart people in the room helping me. We have grown from one chapter here in Northern California to 40 chapters worldwide. I license the opportunity and the rights and educate and share IP or intellectual property or chapter presidents. Why don't we introduce our guest now? We're going to dive right into the evolution of angel investing, and we'll be talking about liquidity events. And I always think it's a little disingenuous. Everybody talks about their wins. We're going to talk about some ways to lose money and pitfalls of angel investing. And one thing unique about Keiretsu, of our 745 fundings, we like it all. We invest in lighting. We invest in women's products. We invest in deep technology, and we also invest in real estate, and we'll be talking about that. I'm very proud to have my guest to my left, Nathan McDonald, who started off. We've known each other for approximately 10 years, and he was the founder of an organization at Keiretsu Forum in Northwest, and he's grown it through 7 chapters, and now I'm very happy to say he's now CEO of our fund. Nathan McDonald, say hello, and then let's talk about and drill down the evolution of angel investing on the West Coast too, because you have obviously a lot of Amazon members, you have a lot of Microsoft members, you know, that have now that have retired and joined your group, over 300 members. Welcome, Nathan.
Thanks, Randy. So great to be here, and so great to be in the Silicon Valley, which is really where modern day angel investing began. But in the early days, angel investing was more of an investment in the arts and in theater, and the investors really felt that the productions were so terrific that they wanted to bring them to the world. And so we've coined the term in terms of angel investing when it comes to technology, when it comes to real estate, and working together as a community of investors. Now, things have really progressed a lot with technology and with collaboration across our geographies. And so when I got started and found out about angel investing, I was still a student at the University of Washington and taking the entrepreneurship classes. Had a chance to hear a few companies present, and some VCs and some angel investors come talk to our class. And from that was intrigued, and this was during the dot-com craze of the late 90s, and so there's a lot of companies going public and a lot of wealth being created. And I think that's when the idea of being an angel investor really became a lot more well-known, and some high-profile angel investors had some very big successes, and then, of course, some very big dot-bomb failures. And so we've seen the Silicon Valley and the Northwest, and really the angel community, ride the wave up and ride the wave down a couple times now. And so when I had an opportunity to get through my classes into my senior year, I really wanted to get to know more about angel investing and how could I be involved in the angel investing community, still being very young, but having a lot of energy to contribute and a lot of ideas around how to try and make them things more efficient. So we started a research project on angel investing, where a group of students created a survey, and collectively we interviewed about 25 business angels in the Seattle area. And it was fascinating. Everybody had a completely different idea about how the angel market functioned, had a different group of people that they operated with, never really got together to compare notes around opportunities and why some won and why some lost. And some people, it appeared, had been quite lucky along the way, and others not quite so much. So I felt like, you know, there's really an opportunity to bring, you know, people together to share opportunities, to share the best of the opportunities, whether they're in software, whether they're in telecommunications, whether they're in retail. And so in the Northwest, we began an effort following my research project. After I graduated, a group of us worked together, brought together a number of angel investment groups in the region, and put on the first investment forum we're able to raise $30 million for 15 companies over a course of a couple-week period of time. And from there, that really launched my career. And it's kind of unique, 15 years now later, looking back, doing somewhat of the same thing I did back then today, and working with angels, trying to figure out how to get angels to work together more collaboratively. And so it's been fun to watch that evolution from the early days when investors would get together at the local Denny's on Mercer Island in the Northwest. And I know down here, there's a lot of Silicon Valley hotspots that were out in the middle of the fields at one point, and now are surrounded by the whole technology community that's grown up here. So that's how it started in the Northwest. Randy, how did things get started down here in the Bay Area, and how did Keiretsu Forum get going? And
well,
why did you come up with this idea of creating a forum to
the wisdom of crowds? And again, I'm getting back to what I said earlier. I'm not smart enough to know why and how a company moves from obviously infancy to an exit without great mind share. And so I think the world's flat. Yes, we're filming here in Silicon Valley, and we have great opportunities here, but I don't want to be precocious to think there's not great opportunities. And that's why we've expanded internationally. We have now 40 locations globally. And for instance, my Istanbul chapter, we have now 72 members, and great deal flow is emerging from there. But more importantly, mind share is emerging from there. And what we see is commercialization around the world. So, a company might emanate from this location, but might need commercialization in Bangalore, where we are, or Istanbul. So I wanted to create an organization where the world's flat, we see great deal flow, but it still is coming a lot from Northern California. And I'm very proud, and I mean, aren't we? We should all have great gratitude in our hearts that we're here in Northern California. And I know you have a special place on earth, Mercer Island you alluded to, and also the Northwest, but it doesn't rain as much. We need more rain down here. Our international expansion has been interesting, is because getting back and bragging a little bit about Northern California and our DNA is that they want a bridge. They want a bridge back here. They want a bridge back to the great, obviously, knowledge, the great the great companies that are emerging here. And also there's thousands of wonderful dreamers here, as they're all around the world. And let's talk about our process, because I think it's pretty cool, the process that we've invoked around the world, that you invoke and also orchestrate in Northwest. But why don't you talk about how we move a company from infancy all the way through the screening process to hopefully funding or not, and then toward an exit.
So for the first 5 years in the Northwest, Randy, like I mentioned, we were doing one event at a time. We'd have companies come in, they would present, the companies would get some interest, and then they'd really follow up. And there's a lot of organizations, as I've looked at all the angel groups out there and how these things have evolved, that's their model. They get people together, companies present, and then they're out the door, people are on to the next thing. And it was always a big challenge for the entrepreneurs to be able to connect with the investors and be able to actually, get to the point where they could build enough trust to be able to get funding. And it was a big frustration around Seattle. There's 4 or 5 angel groups in the Northwest, and you would pretty quickly exhaust your tickets there. Well, then where do you go? And so the opportunity to be able to form a West Coast network and be able to bring investors together, give Northwest entrepreneurs access to the Silicon Valley, so much wealth here, and so much more risk capital here. And so I think that's why there's so many entrepreneurs from all over the world that come here to start companies and raise capital. But that evolution of the angel investing really needed an extra bump, and that's one of the things that really intrigued me about Keiretsu Forum and the organization you'd created, whereas most angel groups are silos and everything happens within the silo, within the group, and then there's some sharing of groups and deal flow, but that's more of the exception than the rule, I would say, in most of my experience working with organizations. But Keiretsu was set up to syndicate from day one. What prompted that initial, wanting to have more than your one group to begin with? And how did you go about trying to exchange information amongst the groups?
You're asking me a question, but you need to finish off the process. But I'm going to answer your question is because I feel that the world's flat, and I feel there's great mind share all around the world, and I see it all the time. I mean, we have a very interesting opportunity, soon to be a tremendous liquidity event, and that's because we have now, of our 40 chapters, we have 21 of our chapters have LPs or shareholders coming out, and not only giving capital, which is important, but resources. So let's talk about the discipline and the process, and also protect yourself with your angel investing. Join a wonderful organization, but if you want to be part of a network, get involved in our process. What's our process?
So companies, come to Keiretsu Forum, they're screened, they're reviewed, which much like happens at any angel group, they have screening, they have review. But then I think the real key innovation was in the due diligence process, and I think that's something you brought from more of a real estate background and really, wanting to have a book, wanting to understand, well, what is it that we do know? And let's document what we do know so that we can exchange our knowledge with each other. And I remember when we had launched the Keiretsu Forum in the Northwest, we had Jimmy Rogers speaking, and he brought up a panel of CEOs to speak before Jimmy talked about his round-the-world trip with his yellow Mercedes and
I remember that.
Commodities market at the time and the opportunities there. But it was really unique to hear each presenter talk about the collaboration within the group, the responsiveness of the group, and then the ability to travel across the chapters. And what enabled that was the due diligence handbook that you had created at the time that the members had put together and had documented a process. I remember our first few due diligences, we literally had all of our angels around the table, all of our first 25 members, and we're all reading the handbook together with the entrepreneur trying to figure out what the next step was. And I still remember very fondly the first due diligence packages we put together on those companies, and it was just a whole new thing, the idea of creating a due diligence package for the company to then be able to allow the members to make an individual investment decision based on the due diligence that had been done, allow that mind share to be in a form that could be documented and exchanged amongst the chapter, but then also amongst the network.
So the process is the same, I think, throughout the whole world. I know it is because we started here. So 50 companies here in Northern California come to us, and then goes to the committee system. So it could be a real estate committee, software, telco. It goes to champions that understand, obviously, that domain expertise and that opportunity, and then 95% are rejected. I hate that word, but generally they are too young. They're not yet ready for us. And the top 10 come to a screening day, of which 25 members. And one thing cool about Keiretsu Forum, no vested interest. So when a member selects a company, and the member, and conversely, more importantly, get funded down the road, 100% of the dollars flows to the entrepreneur. The way that we at Keiretsu Forum have wonderful, talented staff and team members is they're paid because we have a membership a fee, which we'll talk about. So 50 down to 10, 25 members vote privately which companies make it, and usually 4 make it. Now, how many in Northwest of that 50 make it? Same numbers, Nathan?
Well, we look to bring in about 24 companies a year, so we have 4 companies a month that present, and then we syndicate in 24 companies a year. So half our deal flow, our goal is to have companies that have already completed due diligence, raise capital, and bring those in. And we want to originate 24 to 30 companies a year that are from the Northwest region. So it's a very small number of companies ultimately per year that we're wanting to focus a lot of energy into, because each of these companies, once they come through screening, once they come to present, they receive an amount of interest from the group, then we're spending 80 to 100 hours of time on each company. And so it's a very deep relationship.
You have that in front of us, so why don't you share what you have, all these books, but also I think the best way to raise money anywhere, irrespective if you go to Keiretsu Forum or other great angel groups, drip irrigation, come a couple times, find a champion, and let them navigate you through the myriad of things that happens in an angel group. Yes, a lot of great angel groups out there, but make sure you find that champion, understands you, understands your technology, and then what happens here? Who gives this gift to the entrepreneur?
So AutoNexus is a great story that came through the Northwest region. And I actually was aware of the technology foundation for this company that was developed by Dr. Spencer Technologies, if you remember, Jim that came and presented that company originally back in 2006. Unfortunately, Dr. Spencer passed away, and this IP was sitting there, and they were looking for ways to be able to license out and commercialize it. And so a number of our members in Seattle formed a company to commercialize the ultrasound technology, looking at inner ear infections and being able to detect the viscosity of the fluid inside the ear and being able to determine, is this bacterial or is this viral? Well, that's a great technology, but of course it requires a team. And so the due diligence began on the technology as the company came through and was organized and presented, and that time was run by Dr. Gates down in University of Texas system. And one of our members took a very strong liking to it. One of our members, typical, built and sold, I think, 6 companies so far. And so Caitlin Cameron came in as the CEO of the company. So we did due diligence the first time. Then Caitlin came in as part of the diligence, became CEO of the company. We did a bridge round, then we updated the due diligence for the next round. And so this is actually the third version of the due diligence report for the most recent $2 million round that was recently closed for the company just this last month. And so the company's come back time and time again. Once the work of the due diligence is done, updating it is much easier. And as they hit their milestones, they can continue to come back for capital.
And legally, Keiretsu Forum is a facilitator, so we don't participate. We're a membership community, so when an investment comes through, Northwest, wherever we are through our footprint, 100% of those dollars flows to the entrepreneur. So how do you get members to enjoy putting an oar in the water and giving all their knowledge, putting it in paper, and doing it for free? How does that work?
Well, it's an entrepreneurial exercise, that's for sure. So we look for entrepreneurial investors that have, again, built and sold multiple companies. They want to give back.
That's right.
And so what we've done is not give them a full-time job, but created a very structured process where each member can contribute their expertise, but not, take on a full-time effort. And so everybody contributes, 4 to 6 hours of work towards the due diligence project. We have 8 to 10 members per team. And so it's really the matter of segregating out each of the different tasks that need to be done, allowing many hands to make light work. Having a Keiretsu Forum provide some support in terms of facilitation, in terms of education for our new members around the process, education for the entrepreneurs on how to get through the process. And then we make the process available really open source. I mean, we publish the due diligence handbook online. We encourage people to learn the process because the process itself is no secret, but it's the work it takes and the coordination it takes, and it's who the members are and putting the work together and then ultimately voting with their checkbooks and making investments in these companies that allows them to gather momentum and get their fundings completed. And
from day one, we wanted a collaborative heart here in Northern California, throughout our chapters worldwide, and we just love to syndicate and or participate with other angel groups. For instance, the fund, which you're CEO of, we closed Fund 1 with 92 Keiretsu Forum members. We're on to Fund 2, but Fund 1, we decided from day one in our fund, and this is topping off our best deal flow, and when I say our best deal flow, I want it to be known that we enjoy all, obviously, the whole ecosystem of opportunities. So, of our 22 fundings in the fund, which is going to probably end up 40 fundings, didn't we do one with Band of Angels?
Angels Forum, Tech Coast Angels, Sand Hill Angels, yes.
And that's all here in the Valley. So bring it on. We're here to fund more opportunities. And so Fund 2, is it going to be more of the same? More of a collaborative investing with other angel groups?
So that's where we see the evolution of angel investing going. Keiretsu Forum is definitely pushing the envelope in terms of that collaboration within our network of chapters now at a higher level by allowing all of our members to co-invest together through a fund vehicle that allows us to support the follow-on financing of a company, track and receive orderly financial statements from our portfolio investments, which is one of the pet peeves of angel investors, is the communication they get from their portfolio of investments is generally not as good as they would like it to be. And so by coordinating that effort, professionally managing that effort, it allows us to be in position to back the companies within our portfolio that we think are going to be the best. Mm-hmm. It also provides a mechanism for us to have a higher level of partnership with other top-tier angel organizations. And so you mentioned a few here in the Bay Area. We're also working with a number of other angel groups across the country and being able to top off their best deal flow and then conversely provide opportunities for their group to get access to some of our companies that need some more capital. And so it allows us to work together more cohesively in trying to identify who are the big winners. I mean, angel investing is a winner-take-all business, and if you don't have any wins, you're not going to have any happy members. And ultimately, we want to provide that diversity and that access to those winners and be able to invest in those companies all the way from cradle to greatness. Mm-hmm. So that's what we want to get to.
Where'd you get that term?
I learned it from my old friend of mine.
Old friend of yours. So why did we, and I just love leadership, and I want to have leadership emerge through all our footprint throughout the world. And so maybe I'm answering the question right now, but it's just great that you stepped up to be CEO of the fund. So why are you intrigued with the fund, and why did you decide? Because you're now chairman of the Northwest. You replaced yourself. You obviously have a great team in the Northwest. You've grown from 1 to 7 chapters. You've done your job, and you continue doing it. Why is the fund intriguing to you?
So for 15 years, I've been, laying the foundation to be able to get to the point where we could, create this kind of opportunity. And so by having the membership, having the network, having the deal flow at the rate where we were producing the due diligence reports, allowed us to be able to jump off and create Keiretsu Capital in a way that really embodies all the best practices of the research that we've learned within Keiretsu Forum from our own experience, but also looking at the academic reports in terms of what makes a good angel investment portfolio. What are the things that we can do to increase our chances of success? And so by incorporating the fund structure, it allowed us to build in another layer of best practices beyond what we're able to do at the angel group level. Now we're able to do at the co-investment level. And so for the first time that I'm aware of, we're going to have a very robust data set of actual transactions that are going to prove out once and for all whether the research that's been done in angel investing, what is the ROI from angel investing when you do a substantial amount of due diligence, when you have members engaged with the companies and supporting them, not just in the initial screening process, but all the way through their life cycle, all the way to exit. What is the difference that makes in the return on investment that we see as a community of investors? And then looking to have those follow-on relationships to really provide that professionalization that the VC industry is very good at, and the top-tier firms have on-site recruiters, they have M&A advice, they have all those things that angels generally don't have the benefit of when they're working individually or in small groups. And so by being able to aggregate those best practices together, I'm excited as can be to see what the result is going to end up being from all of our hard work.
I can't wait, but we're drawing to a close shortly. What is a definition, and who is the perfect angel, and why should people care about angel investing?
So the perfect angel is really someone who can provide capital, but also can provide expertise and mentorship. There's a lot of people who would like to be angel investors, but they don't necessarily have the capital depth to be able to make the number of investments required, or they don't have the time to be able to really contribute and support these companies. And so there's a lot of people who are very good at co-investing with kind of the core angel investors, but the ones that make the best are the ones that have built and sold 2 or 3 companies and are able to recycle that expertise, that talent, that network, the learnings that they've had with each other to create new opportunities and new deal flow to co-invest in.
Yeah, and I think also myself, again, getting back to my selfish reasons of creating Keiretsu, I need smarter people around me. And ironically, the 51 investments I've made at Keiretsu, half of them I don't get. But I'm drafting off smarter people than me, and they are just doing fine. And my liquidity events, I've had 18 liquidity events. I've had 8 failures or 8 bankruptcy, but I'm about 34% IRR on my money because I have smarter people around me. So the wisdom of crowds, I've invoked swarm intelligence in my life because I'm telling you, whoever's listening to this, everybody gets ahead of their skis. I can't tell you how many times you get approached. And I got approached a couple weeks ago. I almost got ahead of my skis. I said, no, you got to go through the process. You got to go through Keiretsu Forum or go to another angel group to go through the process so you can create some discipline, because everybody's always approaching high net worth individuals. And so now it's a time to slow it down, but invoke discipline and enjoy. Obviously, people join our organization. We have now over 2,000 members. They join because obviously they want to make good investments. They stay because they made good investments, but they enjoy community. They enjoy obviously the whole process. And so, what's next for? Are you traveling the world now, or are you staying put in the Northwest?
Well, we'll be in Prague here in a few weeks for the launch of our chapter there, and as we continue to expand, that's one of the unique things about Keiretsu Forum, Keiretsu Capital. It allows our members from around the world to co-invest with each other. But yeah, we've been on the road a lot this month. We were in Park City week 1 and Dallas week 2, here this week, and then next week we'll be in Napa at the Family Office Conference. And so we're trying to evolve angel investing to be able to involve the next level on the financial food chain in terms of the family offices and the institutional investors, for them to be able to flow capital down and co-invest with the smart angel investors, get access to that deal flow, I think is going to bring a lot more capital. And we've seen some recent fundings here in the Silicon Valley where incubators have raised a lot of follow-on capital for their portfolio companies, and I think there's a lot of potential for that in the angel space as well.
And also we have a uniqueness at Keiretsu Forum. Most angel groups are populated, a percentage is less than 10% of women. And so our job is to get more women, more diversity, and more energy and more expertise. And at Keiretsu Forum Northern California, we have over 20% of women. We really encourage them to be part of the, obviously, of the discussion. One great opportunity emanated from the Northwest. Tell us about that company and tell us a little bit about that product that women brought forth in our Northwest chapters.
So David Giuliani, again, successful entrepreneur, had built the Sonic Care toothbrush and sold that to Philips, and was looking to pull his team back together for the next opportunity, which became a company called Clarisonic, which developed the Clarisonic skincare brush. And so David's board bought the opportunity at Keiretsu Forum, and we were able to back the company in the Northwest and also bring it down here to the Bay Area. And several years later, they were able to be successfully sold to L'Oreal for a nice exit for the early investors and for the later investors as well.
Can you quote the return, how much X return it was?
I believe it was 13x for the round that our investors came into, about 30x for the early investors.
If you put 100,000 early in that, what does that mean? What's a 13x mean of $100,000 investment?
So it means 13 times your original capital back. So 100,000 would have delivered back 1.3 million in that case.
Nice, nice. And that came from our women members in the Northwest. Wonderful. Can you point to any other interesting liquid events from the Northwest the last couple of years?
So from the Northwest, we've had a good portfolio of investments. I think about 280 companies, 180 million or so so far, and a number of the companies have gone on and done very well. I personally invested in one company, Others Online, which was acquired by the Rubicon Project, which ended up going public this last year. So that was a very nice return for our investors as well.
And can you share what emanated out of Mid-Atlantic? And we're going to be talking about it. I'll be back in Philadelphia on Monday and Tuesday because it came out of our Mid-Atlantic shop. Can you talk about that?
So exits are terrific, and we're starting to see a lot more of them with a lot more regularity. And so Immunomic Therapeutics, which completed due diligence with us a couple years ago, came from Mid-Atlantic to the Northwest. The Bay Area received funding from each of our regions. They just had a $300 million license agreement that they signed to license off their allergy vaccine platform that they have. And so that'll be a nice return for all of our initial investors, and there's hopefully more liquidity down the road as the company continues to grow and develop their other immunomic platforms to.
And and we all have gratitude in our life, and I mean, this has rocked my world, Keiretsu Forum. Obviously, I'm blessed to be the founder, but just every day I learn something new from the entrepreneurs, from our members, and in fact, next sequence, I'm going to come back next month, and we're announcing a joint venture with the Gratitude Network because we have a lot of giving members. We have a charitable foundation given 113 different charities in Northern California the last 15 years, but we're going to associate with the Gratitude Network. We're going to have our members globally get involved in gratitude. How do we, and it's not led by money, it's led by expertise and a lot of gray hair. How can we give back to people of need around the world with our databases? I was going to say Rolodex, but young people don't know what Rolodex is. Of our resources to help these people of need. And so that's going to be next month. I'm going to have Randy Haken here, sitting here at the Gratitude Network, talk about, gee, how can we give back in a meaningful way, because a lot of charities just give money. We have more to give at Keiretsu Forum. Thank you so much, Nathan, for coming from the Northwest and being with me at Keiretsu Forum Presents.
Thanks, Randy. Great to be here.
Thank you.